Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Angela, and so delighted that you could join us here today. I am back in Calgary, and the sun is trying to shine. It hasn't been for about 5 days, but it's trying. And so, on this hopefully sunny day, I have here with me Dr. Sue. And she is a holistic pediatrician and midlife transformation expert, helping women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s press the easy button on really hard
Mm,
things. From hormones and heartbreak to holy heck, what happened to me moments, I can relate to that.
for sure.
With science and soul, she makes growth feel easier and a whole lot more fun because when women rise, the next generation rises with them.
Mm.
Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you for being here today and for sharing your expertise.
Thank you for having me. I'm just honored to be with someone as yourself who has really gone through so much, like, holy heck, what happened to me moments,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I'm really honored to be here with you, Angela.
Yeah. And, you know, now I think is a perfect time for you and I to have this conversation because so much
Hmm
is going on in the world. And even though this won't air until a little later, I'm sure the ripple effect is still going to be happening.
hmm
And, in a time when people are grieving their own losses and challenges of life,
hmm
now we've got that outside influence happening on top of it, and it feels really heavy. And so I guess, what I'm looking from you is some kind of, advice or support that can help us through this really rough time.
hmm
Yeah.
Okay, we're starting out with a bang.
Yeah, we are. And you know what? Through the process, feel free to share, background that you've,
hmm
as you go along. That will be great. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to start out with what a mentor shared with me and then kind of give you some background into how I live into it.
Sure.
So, a big mentor of mine is Tony Robbins. And he has a saying that goes something like this: the quality of your life is determined by the amount of uncertainty you can comfortably handle.
Mm,
The quality of your life is determined by the amount of uncertainty you can comfortably handle.
wow.
And so I think that's so powerful because it really just kind of calls it how it is. I mean, when we feel really shaky, there's usually massive amounts of uncertainty happening. And I know your audience has already heard your story, but kind of the culmination of things that happen to you all at once is just like massive uncertainty in multiple buckets. At the same time, you're going through hormonal changes, you have a change in your massive loss, with your spouse, you moved, and you quote unquote shifted or transitioned or lost your career at the same time. You don't lose it, but it's like transition, right?
Yeah.
You have like buckets of health and wealth and relationships. So it's like a tsunami
Yeah.
all at once, right? And so your level of massive uncertainty was truly a tsunami. It was massive. And so I too have had elements not like that all at once, right? But I think one of the biggest losses I had was multiple miscarriages. So my journey into motherhood, I went into medicine thinking I wanted to be a psychiatrist, a physician of the soul, right? But when I learned in America what psychiatry is, I didn't see a physician of the soul being embodied. I saw a lot of medical management of disease, which is where medicine is right now. And so I naturally gravitated to what I love, who I love, which are the kids. So I became a pediatrician. I always wanted to be a mom. In fact, yesterday in the basement, I found this card. I was sharing with Angela, like, I'm in the bowels of my basement lately, decluttering. I found in my basement this card that my sister wrote to me, And do you see this little girl? And she's playing with her baby doll. And that was me, Angela. That's what I love to do. I have all these memories is like me and my baby doll. And you know who's still in my basement? That exact baby doll. You open up that box, it does not smell good. But there is that exact baby doll that I played with. And this is the card that my sister wrote to me when we finally fully brought to fruition our first child. So I had 3 losses before our first was born into the world. And then I had a second trimester loss between my first and second child. And then we had 2 more.
Mm.
And that was really a massive level of uncertainty, especially because my identity since I was a little girl was that I want to be a mama. And then I devoted my career to children as a pediatrician. I was like, where's my baby, God? Right.
Yeah.
And babies just kept slipping through our fingers. You know, we conceive and then lose and then conceive and then lose again.
Mm.
And I had it out with God, like I always think that's so funny. It came right after one of my best childhood friends called, and she said it was a very difficult call for her, but she was calling to tell me that she was pregnant with her second child. And I was just devastated. Here I wanted to be so happy for her, Angela, and I was pissed, like
Yeah.
so angry. And I went on a run and was just having it out with God. Like, how dare you? I've devoted my life. Where is our child? We want to, hold this little one, right? And I always think that's so funny because like you're you're not going to win an argument with God. Right? You may like feel good in the moment, like
Hmm.
really ripping them, right? But at the end, you're still in this massive level of uncertainty, right? And so that's really where I pushed my personal growth button. That's where I was like, I have got to rise above the darkness of all of this miscarriage and like how can I connect with the other side? How can I thin the veil so that I feel like I'm in flow with divine timing, that this isn't happening to me, this is happening for me, right?
Mm.
And I had a very powerful dream. I can't remember the timing, but it happened sometime, I think during those first miscarriages. And um, the dream was so vivid to me because I'm a medical doctor, and and as a medical doctor in the dream, I was a patient. Like I had one of those robes on, that you tie
Yeah.
the front or the back. Like, what are those things, by the way? Anyhow, they're just like the worst feeling thing ever. But I had that robe on. You feel so open and vulnerable, right? And in the dream, these nurses were kept taking me bedside to bedside, like old school, where you had the chart at the end of a bed and you pick up the chart and they're showing me these labs. And then they go to the next one, they show me the same labs. And these labs in medical terminology are telling me about clotting, right? And I woke up from the dream and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm clotting off these babies. Literally, I was like, there's something wrong. I'm clotting off these babies. And that day I started like a baby aspirin. And I know that sounds so crazy. I just offer that to be like, intelligence is always there.
Hmm.
Even when you're devastated, even when you're pummeled, even when you're so confused and you're so lost, like you said, I didn't know where I was. I didn't know. I was just like, it's there if you're willing and curious and open to receiving a message, right?
Hmm.
The last day I got on baby aspirin, not that that was everything that solved my issue, but it was one of the many things. And we conceived and brought a child into this world.
Wow. That's amazing.
And I didn't know anything about why I was clotting. That was a thing. And neither did medical doctors because I went to the specialist, right?
Mm.
Here's the fascinating part about how life is happening for you and not to you. Because that's what they always say in personal development, right? Like
Mm.
how this is happening for you, right? And like as you shared with me before we pressed record, you were like, none of this book would happen. None of this podcast would happen if I hadn't lost my husband.
Mm.
Right. And
Yes.
so there's an element of life happening for you. Like this is a new birth and a new process. Right. And for me, part of my story is that what I learned, I didn't know then. I just woke up and took the knowledge and started a baby aspirin, right? However, I learned later what I have is an issue called methylation. And I don't have to go into it, but basically, it's a fundamental process that happens in your body and can have a ripple effect on every system of your body. And that piece of knowledge and how I ended up helping myself with that has helped me help thousands of children,
Mm,
thousands of children in my medical practice. It's a
wow.
foundational element of how I help children heal physically is through methylation. And had I not gone through these horrible miscarriages and had this massive pain and just been open to a little message that I didn't understand, followed it, and then years later put the pieces of the puzzle together and thought, oh my gosh, it was my methylation issues that were causing this, that, and the other thing, including multiple miscarriages. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I can help so many kids with that. It's like a massive, massive gift.
Wow. That is an amazing story. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. So, you went through this uncertainty, um, and this heaviness. What was a ritual that helped you connect back to your joy? Like what kind of
Mm-hmm.
things did you put in place for that to happen?
That's such a great question. Initially, I did a lot of journaling. I would call it writing with spirit. And some days I would get, some days it would flow, and other days I would just be so angry. I'd write like messy scribbles, like really just dark black stuff. I was so
Yeah.
pissed. Um, I was like, and now I'm into like Pigpen in Snoopy, right? Like he's just like in that cloud, right? That was
Yeah.
me. And I would just scribble that out. And I often wouldn't know what I was writing. I was like, I don't know. I'm pissed. I'm angry. I'm this. I'm that. And through the process, I would just be open to like what would come through. That's definitely one of the ways I connected with spirit and up leveled, like came above the clouds. I would also look for any sign that spirit would give me,
Hmm.
anything, whether it would come in like number patterns or a name. Um, like I can't remember all the connect, like I would just start connecting random dots and be like, is there a pattern here that connects me with spirit? Because it felt like balm to my soul. Like I don't understand why all of this is happening, but that little like God wink, like, okay, I can keep going, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I understand that completely because that was a big part of what kept me going was looking for signs that Blaine was there or signs that I should be doing something. So journaling was a big part then of
Mm-hmm.
your ritual, and
Looking
that
for the
was
God winks. I call them God winks, like looking for the divincidences,
yes.
like divine coincidence, like, huh, that's interesting. Anytime I saw any of those, I would journal, I would acknowledge it. Though those things, and still do, they keep me going. They really
Yeah.
do. I had one recently. My dad recently passed,
Mhm.
and my mom is still living. And in Buddhism, the Buddhist tradition, I believe it's Buddhism, um, there's 7 times 7. So there's a 49-day period after your death. And I was going back to see my mom. I'm the baby of five. So we kind of really rotate. None of us live locally to her. And I noticed, Angela, I did the math. I was like, I am flying back to see mom on that 49th day.
Oh, wow.
And I was just touched by that. I was like, how cool. The day dad's like fully integrated in spirit, because
Hmm.
before that, there's this belief that they're in like life review.
Great. Yeah.
And I had this moment um after having all those losses and multiple miscarriages. I really thought like I felt like what grief was. But I had a moment where I really felt I was living like you know how they say that, what do they say, those waves of grief?
Hmm.
Like I really got hit by one, you know, after dad. And it was like a few weeks after dad's death. And I was just flat out in bed. I was just wailing and having a moment. And my husband was there at one point. And then afterwards, one of my daughters, I'm a mom of three. One of my daughters came up to me. She's walking home from work. And she's like, "You okay, mom?" You know, I was like, "Wow, I just got hit by a wave of grief, you know?" And I'm like, "What's up? Like, it's been a few weeks, you know?"
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like laughing, you know? She's like, "Mom, like, it's your dad, right?" I love kids, you know, I love my girls are always giving my medicine back to me, right? So I said, "Yeah." She goes, I said, "Hon, it feels like just a part of my soul has just like been yanked, like just ripped from me. And it's just
Mhm.
like out there. And I didn't feel any two-way connection yet." You know what she said to me, Angela? So wise. She said, "Mom, you know, when you die, aren't you going to want to take a part of me with you?"
Aw.
Yeah, I'm going to want to take a whole hunk of you with me. Are you kidding? She's like, "Okay, mom, not like a whole hunk, you know?"
Yeah.
So it was so beautiful. It was so beautifully said. And I said, that makes sense. And I felt like still I was kind of pulled. It was like one way direction, not yet two. And I felt like that's that period of 49 days where they say like they're kind of in life review. They're seeing like what lessons did they learn and needs to repeat because you know, Buddhism believes in reincarnation and things. So I'm like,
Right.
okay. So on the 49th day, I figure out, wow, I get to go back to see mom. So I see mom, I just landed, we're sitting down for lunch, and a friend comes up and a friend gives her the exact gift another friend gave to me. Like the exact, I'm going to show it to you. It's like, how does this happen? Right? Because I have it right here with me and it's around a cross because my dad is like such a faith based Christian man. Okay. It is this wooden
Oh,
cardinal that comes from one company in the United States. And, you know, cardinals are believed to be connected to spirits. And so, you know, and mom gets the exact same cardinal. All of a sudden, I'm like, "Mom, can you feel it? Can you,
yeah.
dad's here." Like, I just felt dad's presence with us, you know, and mom just wailed. It was such a, like, just such a beautiful moment of connection, you know,
Mhm.
like, dad was definitely there with us sitting at the lunch table. It was just so gorgeous. So things like that, like those to me are God winks. Those to me are divincidents. Like you cannot orchestrate that. Like
No.
a friend who doesn't know another friend both gets us the same gift and mom gets it on the day dad's 49th day. I'm like, we're winning, mom. Like we are
Yeah.
totally winning. Okay, now I'm gonna pull down mine because the sun is
Yeah.
coming in. See, like the sun was coming in for you when I'm
Yeah.
talking about your husband, and the sun's coming in when I'm talking about dad. So
Aw,
that's
so
even more
sweet.
perfect. But
Yeah.
yeah.
No kidding. Yeah. So I guess, and I think that those things are really important. Like I know that that gets a lot of people through just being able to be open to signs and synchronicities that are
Mm-hmm.
happening in their lives gives you a lot of comfort, knowing that there's still that avenue of communication that can happen. And I know that was a big part of my healing and
Mm-hmm.
still is. Um, because those waves of grief, as time goes on, they just get further and further apart. And I don't feel like I'm actively grieving, but what I do find is that every once in a while, I will have a wave hit me out of
Mm-hmm.
nowhere. I will have no
Mm-hmm.
idea where it's coming from sometimes. But I even had one last night. It was like about because we were watching the World Juniors and we were watching the hockey game, and it was interesting because my partner now is very passionate about hockey, and he was like, all over this game, and I was enjoying watching him. And at the same time, it made me think about Blaine and how passionate he was about hockey. And it made me think about my son and how passionate he is about hockey. And then for some reason, I connected my son's loss in that
Mm,
and that connection that they had. And oh my goodness, it just came. And I don't think I had thought through all of that. It was one
sure.
of those things you just, it was there, but it never really came up. And I find that each time I get one of those waves, it's a real opportunity for me to heal that. Because if I can lean into it and I can allow myself to feel it and to cry and to um, really process that, then the emotion that was attached to it really just kind of fades away and it becomes a memory and often a happy memory, and not something that's going to take me to my knees every time I think of it. So it's
I
interesting.
love I love that. I feel like you're speaking and embodying the feel to heal. Like we get to
Mhm.
feel to heal, which is a
Yeah.
lot of what I do with women, right? And it reminds me of this one woman who said, "That sounds really uncomfortable."
Yeah.
Like, I just love her so much. She's like, "That is not so fun, Sue." What I want to speak to is what you shared. It's like there is a bottom to it. If you allow yourself to grieve and cry, like it will stop, it will end, and it doesn't end forever, right? It ends with what your body is willing to process at this moment.
Yeah.
Because what you said, you've never thought of that before, that connection of the loss for your own son, right?
Mhm.
And that makes so much sense because our mind body can only process so much trauma at once. If not, we would go on complete shutdown. Like we wouldn't be able to get out of bed in a day, right? And
Yeah.
so the mind body's so wise because it's like, okay, I'm going to give you this little bit to
Yeah.
process right now. And it's like, okay, I'm going to give you this little bit now, right? And if you take those opportunities to actually process it, right? You won't have to spend so much energy shoving it down, which is
Mhm.
what I was teaching this one woman that's coming to mind. Like, you're spending so much energy just shoving it down that it shows up as like a sore neck. That's why like you
Yeah.
get the neck stiffness, right?
Mm.
Or for me right now, like I'm totally laughing. I'm about to turn 54, completely in perimenopause, menopause, right? I have been experiencing physical symptoms, which I'm sure if any of your listeners are in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, they have it. But this is so funny because I was going from like menopausal flu, which is actually a thing that my daughter thought I made up. And I'm like, one of my besties is a gynecologist, and she confirms it's real. It's where you get flu-like symptoms, like, but
Mm.
it's not infectious. It's from hormones, right? And then I went into this massive head cold. I'm like, wow, this is just so fun. I'm just
Yeah.
loving this. And then I spent so much time in bed with my head cold, like on Netflix, that then I get my SI joint is completely locked up. So
Ah,
now I'm just like, I feel like that's kind of where you're like, like where can I win here, right? However, I feel like when you're on the personal self development journey, for me this morning, I was like, okay, SI joint, that's sacral. All right, sacral meditation. Like, and so that's what I do. That's how I teach women. That's what we do in Soulful Membership. Just, okay, here's a ritual for that. And then we do the ritual. So I was like, Sue, you need the own medicine that you've created.
yeah.
Like, turn it on. Right. So I feel like part of it is just taking the space to feel to heal, right?
Mm.
And taking whatever access points you have to it. Like you got activated by a memory about hockey and passion for hockey,
Yeah.
right? And I got activated by this little pain in my hip, right?
Mm.
And so if we just take these moments to spark feel to heal, I realized through my little ritual this morning, I was like, wow, I get to lean into faith even that much more. Like I'm a worker. It's like faith plus works. Like it's not just work, Sue, and literally I feel like universe just Source is like, okay, we're going to throw a pain in your hip, girl. Just stop. Just stop. You stop.
Yeah.
Right. For me to remember, like, there's faith too. I get to lean. I get to lean on God's faith. I get to lean into faith. I get to lean into source. I get to like trust even more and
Mhm.
reignite that. Right. So I feel like any access points you have, like take the access point and feel to heal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things I learned was to start recognizing those things as an opportunity to heal because before, I mean, you would get a cold or you would get a pain somewhere and you'd just be like miserable about it and,
Mm-hmm.
look for somebody to help you make it go away.
Mm-hmm.
And now, it's just what message does that bring for me and what can
Beautiful.
I learn from that? Yeah, it's a completely different way of looking at it. It's looking at it with curiosity rather than,
Mm.
this resistance to what's happening. Yeah, and I've interviewed a lot of people who have been through some major chronic things, just like chronic illnesses that have lasted like a decade and have realized what that message was giving them. And as soon as they realized that and started changing their lives, this pain goes away. And
Mm-hmm.
doctors after often can't explain it. It's just it's part of the healing process. It's really amazing.
It is. It is. And I get it because I mean, as a medical doctor this morning, like doing a sacral chakra meditation in the
Yeah.
morning, I was like, okay, like, but I see it as another level, like another layer, right? And I actually
Mhm.
could feel because I was visualizing like orange, the color, like that area expanding, getting a little bit more freedom. And I do a lot of work with Ericksonian, like the Ericksonian developmental stages. Eric Erickson is a um, or was, very foundational in psychosocial development. And anyways, you can tie, like, people have done research on this. Can you believe that, Angela? Like, people have researched which chakra is associated with which psychosocial emotional development stage,
Right.
right? And it turns out sacral is associated with toddlerhood. So I revisited my toddler this morning, right?
Mm.
And so all of that. And I'm just like, even me, I created this thing. And even me, I'm like, okay, come on, Sue. Like,
Yeah.
this matters too, you know? And then and then also like I also scheduled the appointment with a chiropractor, right? So he can like do
Mhm.
his magic and help me unlock that area, right? So I feel like there's multiple layers and
Exactly.
yeah, and just accessing whatever you have access to, the tools in your tool bag, right?
Mhm.
And making use of them so that yeah, you can learn. To me, I'm always like, let's learn and turn the page. What's next?
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
next part of this
Yeah.
story?
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't want to get
exactly.
stuck here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, as we get older, our perspective changes. And I know with the loss, it really changed for
Mhm.
me because now all of the things that I thought were such big deals in life are just no longer a big deal. And you start to listen to people and they're talking about things that, you just think, oh my goodness, that's so, and I mean, in their world, it's big, but for you, it's trivial, right? And it's just, I think my give a hoot factor has really gone down. Not that I'm not compassionate, but it's just, I realize what's important to me in
Mhm.
life and what in the big picture makes sense. And so I feel a little rebellious sometimes, against my own self. Like when I was a teenager, rebelling against my parents. Now I'm rebelling against my own beliefs and thoughts that I had.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's quite a different
People
perspective.
often say, Angela, like they look at midlife like second adolescence.
Mm,
So in adolescence, in the Ericksonian stages, Ericksonian developmental stages, it is about identity,
Yeah.
identity versus role confusion. And so if you think about adolescence, I don't know what it felt like to you. I felt so massively uncomfy. Like,
Mm.
first of all, hormones are changing, and all of a sudden my body is like, ooh,
Yeah.
it's just like so uncomfy. And you're figuring out like who you are in this world, what you stand for, what you don't stand for, what you value. And I remember like in my adolescence, I went to a brand new school and exposed me to a lot of spiritual traditions, including Judaism, that I hadn't really been exposed to in my hometown. And I remember like bringing that to my, parents who are, very like faith-based Christian. That's kind of how I was raised, right? And I remember sitting there, Angela, like rebelling in church, like in the pew. I was like, okay, what's this? Like, how did Jews think about this? Right? Like looking
Mhm.
at that. And so I feel like um midlife is really a second adolescence because again, it's over a period of time frame, right? It doesn't happen in a day or a month or a year. It's over a period of years. Hormones are changing, right? Identities, roles are changing. Like you're a perfect example of that. Like massive a number of roles are changing, right? And so that little rebellious person comes out again and it's beautiful.
Mhm.
It's like, of course it does. Of
Yeah.
course, like the little rebel would come out and be like, ha, I don't even think I believe that anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just so it's beautiful to witness. I love that.
Yeah. And I think it's, you know, way you explain that, it makes a lot of sense, right? We are looking for who we are now because the
Hmm.
rules have changed so much. It makes perfect sense. And then the other thing I guess I'd like to talk about is the conflict, um,
Mm.
because we're always running into conflict. And like
Hmm.
I say, my give a hoot factor is getting less and less, but still, I will avoid conflict where I can. And
Mm.
and I'm just, starting to step into that a little bit more because before I would withdraw and I wouldn't speak my truth. And now I'm thinking, you know what? It might be good for me to be a little more able to express myself in a way that's going to be helpful to others and to be helpful to myself. Um, because not being heard and not being seen is not healthy either. And so,
Mm-mm.
what would you say about, you know, people who are going through conflict? Because it happens a lot with grief. Family
Mm.
members get upset about all kinds of different things, financial reasons. What do you have for advice for people going through that?
Wow. Okay. We could spend a whole hour on this. I love this subject. Okay, because I too avoid conflict. Like I was like, I am not a conflict type person. Um, and I've learned a lot about how if I like to grow through what I call fusion, like
Mm,
let's come together. That's why I have a soulful membership of women, right? Like
right.
let's come together, let's learn together. Like I'm always about coming together, finding like the similarities versus the differences, right?
Mhm.
And so a big part of my journey has also been about growth through friction. So friction is like when two substances rub against each other. And you can think about like starting a fire, right? Like that's a
Mhm.
good thing. Or like you're cold, you want to warm up, right? Like you're literally causing friction. So friction can be quote unquote good. It can be beneficial.
Right.
And it's just about learning like looking at those differences, like what can the different perspective share? Like instead of just getting only honed into your vision, like, okay, what are they saying? How are they seeing this? And it's so interesting you bring up it happens in loss of physical death because um sure enough, it came up after dad's death in I won't go into all the details, but I literally woke up one day to find out the realization that the last remaining of my dad's clothes are now divvied up between three people in the family,
Mm.
and I don't have a single item. And I felt like someone just like just took it to me right here. Like I was
Mhm.
literally physically breathless. And it was the second time, not the first, the second time, within a month time frame, right before my dad died, and then right after, that I experienced rage. Angela, like
Yeah.
my husband came home and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I literally was in rage. And I said, I was like, oh my gosh, this is why people kill people. Like,
Mm.
this is rage. I've never felt this feeling before in my entire life. I've never felt this feeling. And my husband came home. He's like, wow, congratulations. You're 53 and you're finally feeling rage. I was like, I thought I was repressed, but I guess I really am repressed. I felt rage. And so the benefit of that, I cannot even speak to the benefit of having that level of friction, so much so that you're enraged. Your
Mm.
feeling is like, I want to take somebody out. Because that's I was like, I just want to take them out. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to take that person out. I'm gonna strangle you. That's what I felt like. And so I used a tool, another tool that I use, Byron Katie. Have you heard of Byron
Yes,
Katie?
I have.
Her The work is what she calls it, the work. The work is basically claiming the reality. The reality is this. The reality is that the last of my dad's remaining clothing is in the hands of three people of the family. Even after we had agreed of doing the process was not followed.
Mm.
Okay. So that's the reality, right? So her work starts with like, this is the reality. And that's her whole thing. Like, you can't deny the reality, like the reality, like get down to the nitty gritty of what it is. Then everything else you put around that is all your made up story, is your
Right.
perspective. Like, he should have done that. They should have done, it shouldn't be like all the shoulds that we smear all over everything, right?
Yeah.
And so her process, you can just Google Byron Katie's The Work. It'll come up. You'll walk it through. You can find videos of her walking through it. That's what I did. It's a journaling process where you journal out all your sad ass story. It's part of my language, like your perspective, where you're just like, poor me,
Yeah.
whatever you have to say, all the shoulds. And then you get to flip it and see the other person's perspective. Anyways, it can take a long time. I use chat to help me too, because I was like, Lord, this can take me a long time. But within an hour and a half, I went from rage to neutrality. I was able to craft, a message that resonated with the person that I actually wanted to like take out.
Yeah.
And then within a day, that person mirrored back and said, what you had to say, Sue, actually really helped me. And then proceeded to get into action and give and call another family member to apologize. Right. And I was like, girl, that is the work in action. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I didn't say, like, go do that. I just did
Mm.
my work. I
Right.
just did my inner work to get to a piece of like a place of neutrality. Right. And then that's where you free yourself. So that's why I'm like, don't take friction away. I would have never gotten there without that friction. I was like, because I just said to myself, I want to free myself. I do not want to feel this rage. I don't want to go
Right.
kill somebody.
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
want to be at peace with myself and everybody else. And so from that state of selfishness, I was like, I'm going to do this work. I'm going to do it now. I'm going to take an hour and a half, however long it takes, and I'm going to get to the other side of this. And then the ripple effect of it to me is like love in action. It's like I couldn't have made that up. It couldn't have resolved in a better way. And that action that created from the thing that I didn't want to happen is something that I've wanted to happen for years, for
Oh,
decades. That forgiveness.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For
Mhm.
decades. And so I'm like, it's like you said, like, I don't give a hoot. I was like, it's closed. I'll get over it. I'm
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Like, I got dad right here, you
Yeah.
know, I got
Mhm.
dad right here. Yeah.
Right.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Friction. She
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, being able to get yourself from that space of rage and anger to a space of peace and to know that you're just going to allow because you're fine now, right? And so that you
Mm,
can allow what's going to happen next. And I really think that that energy and vibration that you put out there in that healed state is ripples out and
Mm. Yes. Like I always say, hurt people hurt people. Because when
yes.
I'm enraged, I wanted to hurt him. I just
Mhm.
want to take him out. I just want to say all the mean, nasty things,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Hurt people hurt people. Healed people heal people.
Right.
I didn't pretend. I declared my boundaries. Boundaries are really important in friction.
Mm.
This is okay. This is not okay. This is where
Right.
I end. This is where you begin. This is
Mhm.
what you control. This is what you don't control.
Right.
Right. So I set very sacred boundaries. I
Mhm.
explained that I'm in the healing process, just like you're in a healing process.
Yeah.
We all heal at different times in different ways.
Mhm.
Right. So I think those things are really important. Hurt people, heal people. That's why I do soulful medicine. That's my whole premise, Angela. Like,
Right.
it's not the gun that's the problem as much as it's the emotionally charged person picking up the gun that's the problem,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
so when we heal the person and we teach ourselves how to heal ourselves, our own inner child that was hurt, that wasn't loved in the way that she wanted to be loved, wasn't cared for, where the boundaries got crossed. Like I had boundaries crossed and just like, what? Very sacred childhood. I'm a child. Why are you touching me that way? That's not appropriate. Those type of
Mhm.
cross boundaries, you heal, right? And then you ripple the effect to your children. Even whether you've birthed children into this world or not, you affect children by the energy you put into this world. Heal people, hurt people. Heal yourself, like free
Right.
yourself,
Right.
right? Free yourself. Because I feel like when you're in one of those non-powering emotions, especially like rage or anger, even overwhelm, despair, whatever it's attached to, that's who has your power. So when I was in miscarriage, right, in miscarriages, the loss of not having that baby, that had my power. I was not
Right.
empowered state. That had taken my power, right? It was with the babies that weren't here yet. That's who had my power. When I was enraged, that other family member, that person had my power.
Right.
I'd given it away, enraged, like you've got it all because you just enraged me, right? Where you do the inner work, you bring it back to yourself. You re-empower yourself. You're like, I create my own peace right here. And
Mhm.
so I guess that's like full circle to where we came. How
Right.
how do you create certainty when there's massive uncertainty, right?
Mhm.
How do you improve the quality of your life living with such massive uncertainty? You do the work. Like you bring certainty to yourself by doing the inner work, by
Mhm.
freeing yourself, right? By healing the child within, by feeling to heal, doing all the things that we talked about in this hour. Like that to me, mm, that's what brings me massive certainty.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think in that process of healing ourselves, we can really see others in that and the space that they're in. Like it's not until we actually look at ourselves that we can see others and the actions that they're taking and the rage that they're in and that kind of thing. I think it's hard to be compassionate to somebody unless you've felt it yourself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I really found that, when I lost Blaine, I remember another friend of mine had lost her husband before I lost Blaine. And after I lost him, I was like, wow, what she went through. And I had no idea, no understanding of just the intense emotion that comes up with that. And now, I've been gifted this ability to understand others in that space and to be able to be helpful because I know what I needed. And I know that I can, if I look after myself and I make sure that I'm healthy, then I can help others as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So well said.
Yeah. So there's another question here that I actually seen in your bio. I was curious about it. It says, how can understanding your birth date or personal number patterns help you trust yourself and feel more aligned with life's timing?
This speaks to tarot numerology.
Nice.
which we could have a whole entire other episode into, but I'll bring it to this episode in terms of it's one of those divine winks, right? It's one of the ways to see your connection to something greater is based on your birth date.
Right.
So numerology is a pattern language, um, and is based on the belief that your birthday, you add up your digits, like my birthday, 3 plus 8 plus 1 plus 9 plus 7 plus 2 is 30, 3 plus 0 is 3. I'm a 3. In tarot, which used to be like a deck of playing cards, but is really a beautiful display of archetypes, of the archetypal journey. So we've been talking about, well, we haven't yet, but I work with archetypes like Carl Jung is another
Mm.
person in psychology, big field about archetypes. Anyways, tarot is like archetypes. And the archetype of 3 in tarot is the Empress. And once I saw the Empress card, I was like, this is me.
Mm.
She's the mother of all mothers.
Right.
She's the nurturer. She's feminine. She's always pregnant. Like she's
Mm.
creative. She's nourishing. She's nurturing, whether it's the world or her baby or the next creative project. I just sat there and I was like, God, that's me. Like it made me make so much sense as to why I was this little girl playing with a baby doll, right?
Mhm.
Why I devoted my career in pediatrics, why I continue to work with moms so I can help them heal their inner child and help them be a ripple effect of love for their children. I was like, amen. I was like,
Yeah.
I just get it. I just totally, totally get it. So there's your soul number, and then there's your personality number. Your personality number is the day of you were born. So if you're born, like I'm born on the 8th, March 8th. So the 8, or if you were 17, 1 plus 7 is 8. Or if you're 26 of the month, 2 plus 6 is 8. 8
Right.
is strength in the tarot archetypes, and strength is what a lot of people see me as. That's my personality. That's how they look at me and see me as, which
Mm.
is a very courageous soul, like someone who's very calm in the storm, who
Right.
is able to sit in pain or sit in that rage and calm it with love. Right. And so a lot of people see me as that. Like a lot of people have always said, you're so courageous, like when I became an entrepreneur, they're like, wow,
Yeah.
just courageous, or even talking about tarot numerology as a physician, right?
Yeah.
Courageous. A lot of people would say that's really
Exactly.
courageous, right? I say, I'm just following my heart. I still do a
Mhm.
lot of integration work. Like that's what we're doing is in the inner work, the work that we're talking about, it's integrating the shadow and the light. The light is all the stuff we love about ourselves. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, right? The shadow is like the enraged person where you're
Yeah.
like, how could he,
Yeah.
And like in that moment, right? That how could he moment, I saw him as stubborn and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm being really stubborn right now. I'm only seeing
Mm.
my way, right? Once I integrate stubbornness, it's like, I'm free. I'm like, yeah, I have moments where I can be super stubborn too. Just ask my kids.
Right.
They're not going to lie. So that's where you can start to look. And in the Soulful membership, I have a whole workshop resource on tarot numerology, so you can discover your soul and your personality number and use them as guides. They're beautiful guides. All these archetypes, all of them live within us. So the meditations that I walk people through, guide people through, we're activating. We want to activate the Fool for the new beginnings. We want to
Right.
activate the Empress because she's a massive receiver. Like she'll just receive, 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 right? And so
Right.
when you're depleted and empty and burnt toast, like you get to activate the Empress who's like, bring it, baby, I'll receive. She's pregnant,
Yeah.
right? So she's the master. So that's how I play with those. But that's the pattern. Like once you really see that, you awaken. When I saw the Empress, I was like, my soul was awakened. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, yes, she's me. Like I am her. Like, wow, just makes so much sense.
Very cool. So tell us more about this community of yours and
Hmm.
how people can find you if they want to learn more.
Yes. So you can always find me at my website, drsuemccready.com. So my first drsuemccready.com. And the ways we can work together, I do one-on-one coaching. My favorite is Soulful Membership, because Soulful Membership is the community of women. So it's a combination of group coaching. We meet once a month in circle. It's doing rituals, these little mini workshops that you can do on your own. It's like self-development. It's like you're enraged. Okay, go to this ritual, like,
Mhm.
and then you see me and I pop up and I'm talking you through things and guiding you through a meditation. So there's Soulful Membership. And then there's also like I blog, I write, so like for me, a big part of my healing process is writing. And so you can find that and follow there as well.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
So much beauty. And I guess I would end with this. I always like to end with one thing that women have shared and mirrored back to me after working together, whether one on one or in a group, is the phrase that I when you don't so like you started this saying, what do we do, or how do you guide people when there's such massive uncertainty?
Mm,
And my answer is do what love would do.
mm,
So that is such a great question to ask. Like to me, this morning in my inner work this morning, what would love do? Love would rest. Love rests
mm.
today. Love
Right,
rests. Like love also rests. Love works, but love also rests, right?
right.
Or what would love do? Love would pick up the phone and apologize. Or what would love do? Love would lay down a boundary. This is okay. This is not okay,
Mm,
right? So it's such a beautiful question to ask, especially when you're riddled with like massive uncertainty. Like, what would love do? How would love bring certainty to you in this moment right now? For me, I get to rest today. This
yeah.
has been so much fun. I could do this all day. And also, I get to rest. I get to, like, restore, do yoga, go get my chiropractic treatment, receive, nourish, right?
Mhm.
So I always love to end with that. Like, what would love do? It's a beautiful question to ask yourself when you're in any part of uncertainty, or when your kids come to you. What should I do, mom? What would love do? Because love is our natural state. Our natural state is a loving state. It's a peace filled state. It's a joyful state. That's why we feel so good in that state.
Right.
And when you ask that question, you activate that lover, that peaceful person inside of you, that peaceful archetype, right? That loving archetype that is like, oh, I know what you would do,
Yeah.
right? And then gives you the answer. It may be a little hard to follow through, right?
Hmm.
Might say, okay, that sounds like a lot. What's my first step? Love, okay,
Right.
that's a lot. What's my first step? What's my baby step, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I encourage people to check out your website and to connect with you. It sounds like you've got a lot of wisdom in a lot of different areas, and being a medical doctor on top of that. I mean, what more can you ask for? It's amazing. So, thank you so much for taking the time today to share with everyone. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for all of your work, and yeah, for getting in love. What love would do is get into action like you and write your book and get your message out there. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for listening, and bye for now.